Hey guys, I'm back to talk more about the 1920s with you guys, and this video is actually about the Harlem Renaissance Musicians Edition because there's going to be other ones. This is about musicians. Okay, so for the 1920s, we've already talked about a lot of things. We've talked about women's suffrage, we've talked about prohibition, we've talked about the League of Nations, we've talked about mass media. But today, we're going to be talking all about the Harlem Renaissance, okay? So by 1865, slavery was abolished. That means slavery was illegal. We could no longer have any white people making the African Americans be their slaves. So that was a good thing. But African Americans were still struggling with equality and fairness. Just because it was illegal for them to be slaves doesn't mean that people still didn't treat them unfairly. So they had a lot of difficulty with with finding jobs and people, helping them out. So although they were free and they weren't slaves anymore, it was still very difficult for them to live, especially in the South. There were these groups. Let me make my thing a little smaller for you guys. There were groups like this. This is the KKK. Oops, sorry. They were a group of white people. They call themselves white supremacists who felt as though white people were just better than everybody else. So that was their group, and unfortunately, they would do pretty dangerous and violent things to African American people. Now, another problem in the South was there were tons and tons of farms, but the farmers, the white farmers, they didn't want to share their jobs with the African American people. They wanted to make sure that their farms were just belonging to them. They wanted to make sure that any plants or vegetables or fruits or crops that they grew, that they got all the money for their family. So they really didn't want to share with the African American people. So it made it very difficult. So the African American people did something called the Great Migration. And what they did was all of those, you can see all of these states down here, that's considered the South because it's south of America, of the United States. They decided that they were going to move to different places, and they were hoping that those places that they moved to would actually be they would be able to find better jobs. Okay, so they decided to move, and we are going to focus on the move to New York. Okay, so this is a neighborhood in New York called Harlem Renaissance. Now, it wasn't the best neighborhood, to be honest. It was kind of like everybody was kind of packed in. They lived in big apartment buildings with a lot of people squeezed in, so it was a little bit difficult. It wasn't really a nice area to be in, but at least they were together. It was a lot of Black people in one community, and they were able to be friends and take care of each other. So they decided to have some fun. They're in a big group. They're no longer down in the South trying to find jobs and trying to, people with the KKK and all that. So they decided, you know what, let's have a little fun. We have a lot of very talented people in our community. Let's have some fun. So the two main types of music that they started really playing and experimenting with were jazz and the blues. Now, this guy was super, super famous. His name is Duke Ellington, and he was a very famous pianist. That means that he played the piano. Now, this lovely lady, her name is Josephine Baker. She was a fantastic, fantastic singer, and as you